Welcome to Bravo Force 141's podcast, the ShotCast. I'm your host, James, and my co-host today is...
Dark Magic 6000.
What are we going to be moving on to first, Dark Magic 6000?
So, before we get into the live audio podcast, we will be answering some questions submitted by crew members and as well as people who are very curious about us. So, we are going to get straight into it.
How could someone join Bravo Force 141 if they didn't have Discord?
Much for submitting that question. We appreciate it quite a lot. So, our main focus is obviously for everyone to have Discord. But for those who do not have Discord, currently as of now, we do actually have a Google Forms. And to actually, in order to check it out, you have to go onto our YouTube, which obviously is presented here. It'll probably be in the link in the description. But we do have a Google Forms now, so everyone can start applying on there. We do encourage everyone to, importantly, get Discord because there's more features, there's more implementations, and most of our announcements is on that than on a PlayStation group because it'll be quite hard to actually organise, in my opinion. So, like I said, Google Forms on our video descriptions or in the bio, you can have a look, go from there. However, we do encourage you to get Discord eventually. So, for a time being, we'll let you off, but eventually we will need you to go on there.
Okay. So there's quite a few different topics that we're going to need to discuss for today's episode. Obviously, a lot of changes have happened within the crew since we last done one of these episodes. One of the main sort of changes we've had is the military police. We decided to get rid of the ABU and do a crew-wide effort. I don't know if you want to talk more about that, Aaron, and just sort of go through maybe the changes that have been made.
Okay, so originally, like James has said, ABU was the ground team for within the Air Force. Now, it was quite restricted for some other members who wanted to try out that unit, let's just say. But that's why we've decided to introduce military police. Our inspiration is the Royal Military Police in the United Kingdom that we do have. However, we've made it so that all branches can actually apply to that. So technically it's actually a different department, but it gives everyone something to do. They can have training. They need to know certain laws. They know how to respond in, responsibility of armed forces, let's just say. And obviously criminal activity as well, because you need to know how to do that. So we've introduced this for various reasons. I think the main important one that me and James probably would believe is definitely due to role-playing scenarios. It does help out a lot. Everyone needs to make sure they follow certain rules because there's no discipline there. And I could go on for ages about why we would need to do this, but I'm going to keep this short and sweet. But definitely the main point is because of RP and not even that as well. Training sessions as well can link to it. That is the one key everyone needs to follow. Make sure they're following all the rules within Fort Sankudo. And obviously, if you are joining the Army or Navy or Air Force real life, you need to obviously respect the members of the public. You can't be going around causing havoc because eventually you'll get discharged. So that is the real reason why we've introduced this.
Yeah. One of the main questions I've also had sort of fairly recently was about the aircraft carrier and about, how operations are going to change when it is implemented. I'll just go through the Air Force side of it and then, Aaron, you can go through how the Army and Navy can sort of help out with that when it is, or if it is implemented. So the main thing for the Air Force, obviously, will offer a different landing challenge. You've got a much shorter runway on that. You've got a different approach, and you're going to have to touch down a lot sooner. Fort Sankudo at the moment, on the main runway, you can touch down very late and still land successfully. On the aircraft carrier, what we found in our sort of experimenting when we can on the business battles is that it's fairly hard to make a successful landing if you touch down late. So there obviously will be different training needed for that. And obviously the whole operations will change. We can't have the same rules that we have for Fort Zone Kudo. Like there's one of the rules of Fort Zone Kudo is no explosions. Well, will the aircraft carrier be able to fire missiles or something similar to the submarine? Obviously we don't know because it's not released, but we can't have that rule in there, so it will have to change, and obviously operations will change in that sense for the Air Force. If you want to go ahead and talk about the Army and Navy, how they can use it.
Yeah, well, personally, I don't really believe the Army will do much. The reason why is because there's no point for them doing it. Because we are going, well, it's actually been introduced already, but we do have, following the inspiration of the Royal Navy, we do have the Royal Marines within the Navy now. So that will be mainly their job on the aircraft carriers, on the dinghy boats, if there's unidentified boats, let's just say, or watercrafts. So, yeah, everyone can use that to their advantage. But personally, the Army side, probably not as much. There won't be much Army personnel on there. I believe that it's not suited for their purpose, let's just say. Because if you think about it, you've got land, air, and then sea. It's not, you don't really want to mix things different up. Yeah. However, though, there might be a possibility that where they might be on there, they might be present on there. Maybe we could conduct some sort of like training operation where everyone can learn CQB inside the actual the aircraft carrier. So maybe we could do something like that. But hopefully, if this does get introduced, we can use this to our advantage. But similar to the Royal Marines as well within the Navy, they can easily conduct stuff. They can easily see unidentified boats, and they can use that to their advantage because most of the time they will be on certain aircrafts, and you will have regiment gunners. I could go on for ages, but yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things that popped up recently was obviously we've been running a TikTok account, which you've been managing. And one of the videos did hit 30,000 views as we were recording it.
Yeah,
so it picked up more.
It did. Yeah.
I didn't know if you wanted to just sort of go through what was your ideas behind making that video and why do you think it's so successful?
Originally, I'll be honest with you, I hated TikTok. I thought it was a really cringy platform of one dancing. You know, it's all of that stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some people that are very good at dancing, but there's some that shouldn't be on there, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
However, I've started to like it now because it's not just that there's memes on there, you know, there's other little creative videos, and it's quite good for everyone to get along, you know, because we're in lockdown right now, or we would originally. Everyone didn't really have much to do. There was not really much entertainment. But this has brought everyone together and just, you know, gave them a positive mindset, in my opinion, and just fire forward. So I was like, you know what? Let me go and put the crew on there, see what happens, because it's another social media that can be promoted. And massively, it has increased so much to the point where it's like, oh, geez, compare it to YouTube, compare it to TikTok, it's two different things. You've got more. That's John, isn't it? That is John. But anyway, so there's more followers, there's more likes compared to YouTube. Now, YouTube, like, in my opinion, is good a platform. It's just obviously it needs to be good for the people who are looking for a certain type. So, for instance, if they're looking for a Milsim crew like ourselves, they will see us on there. There's loads of crews on there. But then TikTok as well, it goes on people's feeds, goes on like certain little tags that will come up, and it'll just be the best way to promote the crew. And this definitely will benefit us 100%, because we're seeing a lot more members join in, or a lot more civilians join in, a lot more engagement as well, a lot more comments, a lot more feedbacks, and it's really good because it just allows us to use that feedback, improve our performance, and thrive even more.
Yeah. I think it's weird how YouTube, you know, it seems like because there's so many people on it, you don't get that many views, and then you put on something like TikTok, and your video explodes or something like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Thought
Yeah.
it was a joke, but there you go. The Milsim community has been obviously changing quite a lot over coronavirus. When we had our first ever lockdown, we saw a massive spike in applications. We're still seeing sort of spikes in applications. What do you think is going to happen to the Milsim community maybe over sort of the next 6 months? Coronavirus.
Now, like you said, it was massively increased with applications. You know, I could talk about it a lot. At the moment, I believe it's going down a little bit because we're getting out of this, we're getting back to normal, in my opinion. Everyone's going back to work, everyone's going back to school, college, etc. So I feel like there will be a decrease in, I want to say, the inactiveness of some members, because obviously there's various reasons for it, which is understandable because I'm in the same situation. But it definitely has benefited us a lot, and I can't tell you what will happen in the future because I might think of a goal that could happen, and not all goals are always completed, but you can always use that to your advantage, and obviously go forward with it. So I'm trying to think right now because I actually don't have an answer really. I think there will definitely be a lot more implementations, a lot more better experience for everyone. Loads of people are going to keep learning new valuable skills. Even if we're a GTA 5 like community on PlayStation 4, people can still take memories, and maybe in a few years' time they might be like, "Oh, I remember that crew. I was in it for so many months, so many years, or whatever." So it's a very good way to experience, get to know new people, and learn skills. You can develop your teamwork, leadership, communication. I could go about all of the skills. It's the best way to get yourself involved and get out your comfort zone if you're struggling, let's just say.
I think what's different about Bro 41 for one is you see other crews and the parties are only open when a higher ranking officer is on or someone who runs the crew is on. What's different about our crew is we're having crew members just start the parties and other obviously crew members join that party and they, play a game independently without the owners or people who run it having any input. I don't see that with other crews.
No, you don't. I mean, the whole. If I'm mentioning about the whole GTA Milsim community, it's very toxic in my opinion. Very toxic. It's Milsim. What is Milsim? Military simulation. And then you see people breaking war crimes, and it's just like, that doesn't make sense because you're military simulation, you're meant to obey the laws, you're breaking war crimes, and it just doesn't make sense. Like most of the community now, right, not our community, we're still staying where we are, and that's what I'm proud of in my opinion. But the whole Milsim community in GTA, they go around, knifing people when it means something. I feel like it's a bit petty, and you ain't gonna do that if someone's surrendering, putting their hands up, and the next minute they get a machete in the back of their back. It's just it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. People have the knowledge, they teach them the knowledge, but they're not an actual Milsim in my opinion. They're more of a militia. Not even that actually. Probably even like mercenaries, I would say, actually. That's best way to put it. They are like mercenaries, really, in my opinion. They don't really, in my opinion, they don't obey the law, and they say stuff that they are, but they're not. So comparing it to us, to them, we're giving players, or not players, we're giving crew members real knowledge, a better understanding about the laws as well, because if they're joining in the armed forces, they will definitely need to know all of this. They need to know every single law, combatants, non-combatants, POWs, we could talk about this all the time, but it's definitely one thing that we benefit a lot. And I believe this is why we've grown massively right at the beginning, and now.
Yeah, I think because once obviously you join our crew, you play and a lot of other games like Rainbow Six Siege, and what that allows us to do is once we've done what we need to do on GTA, we can all move over to another game. It's sort of, I think that's what makes this crew different to other crews who stick to GTA only, where we sort of actively encourage members to play other games.
Look, yeah, we expand on that. Look for new platforms, and maybe eventually we'll be looking for PC, Xbox players, all that stuff. So definitely that is a benefit for us, because that's the best way for us to actually gain more members, gain more knowledge, really, for ourselves to improve. Yeah.
There was a new point now. There was an app that we have found called Zello, which we've been trialing for quite some time now. And as long as you have a device, a phone, an iPad, it might even work on PC. But I haven't trialled that myself. But it's like a walkie talkie app, and the way we're using it in the Air Force at the moment is for the airside part of the base, and also air traffic control running into one. On that point, we have also introduced there's a new chart now for pilots to review. We've given them an aircraft checklist and stuff like that. The Zello app is obviously walkie-talkie based, and we mainly use that because what we find in PlayStation parties is people tend to talk over each other. I don't know, Aaron, if you want to go over how maybe you might plan to use it in the army to improve sort of communications and the problems you found in PlayStation parties.
So just covering that, like, for instance, obviously we like to tell people to clear comms, but some of the time you can hear muffled background noises, and it's a bit hard for everyone to understand, in my opinion. When I'm doing it with someone, let's just say, it's obviously quite hard because people are talking over, even though you've said clear comms. That's why disciplinary action should occur. But this Zello app allows all of us to engage in a different way and use this in a real life scenario, because you're not going to be, for instance, if you're in a plane, you're not going to have like 20 people talking over in the same cockpit. There'll be yourself and the co-pilot, let's just say. So it's definitely the best way to do it, in my opinion. And for the army side, we definitely will be using radio communication. We will be using that 100%. So most of the time we'll be obviously calling in airstrikes, close air support. We'll be using it for I can't think of the name now. There's a certain name for it. I cannot actually think of it. But we'll be definitely using that, and then using the multi-mission radio the actual British Army uses. I know I'm thinking of the US military for some unknown reason. Ignore me. But that's definitely a lot that we'll be using. It'll definitely benefit all of us, in my opinion, and even Navy personnel as well. There'll be a certain perimeter for aircraft to come into that proximity, so we can actually use this to our advantage in role-playing situations. This will definitely, like I said, be used for role-playing scenarios. I mean, if we're just mucking about, we're not really taking it serious, let's just say, we're just having a good time, in my opinion. Obviously, we're not going to be using this because this is everyone's free time, in my opinion, but we definitely will be using it.
That is all the topics on today's ShotCast episode. Unless you have anything else to add, Aaron?
No, I do not have anything else to add.
Okay, we'll see you in the next one.